Meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, before we get started, I want to recognize we have Pat Ross here for his first meeting. He was at convocation this morning, but this will be his first board meeting. So thank you, Pat. And we're missing Katie. She's out of town on a work trip. That will bring us to 1.3, approval of agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. Nothing for 3.1. 4.1, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations.
Mr. President, before we start that, I'd like a minute on the to speak, if that's all right.
Okay.
I assume I know what the speaker's going to talk about. So there have been 42 books sent for review, all except 4 from the same person. Of the 42 books sent for review, so far 15 have been pulled from the school, librarians, or committee. 5 have been retained by the BOE, and one of those 5 was the Bible. During the summer, Ms. Schmidt has made all kinds of allegations about our district and Board of Education. What is worth noting, though, is the fact that of the 17 books she claims on social media to have sent in for review at the time this was written, only 8 have formally been submitted for review, some as far back as 2 years ago. She also has a misunderstanding of library books, which are for enjoyment, versus instructional materials, assigned books / materials. 99% of the books that have been questioned have not been instructional materials. That doesn't mean that they should be in our school, just a huge difference in meaning and importance. Another fact is the book It's Perfectly Normal that's shared on social media isn't even in our district. Speaking of formal reviews, one book of the 42 takes about 3 to 4 months to review once it's up to bat. The committee has to have time to read it, meet to discuss it, and then the Board of Education also has to have time to read it, then meet to discuss it as well. It's the review process that has made it so that the books up for review haven't been pulled. Doing the math, 42 books should take about 10.5 to 14 years to go through the full process. As I mentioned before, thankfully, several books didn't make it past the librarian currently at the helm. So thankfully, we're not waiting 14 years. Speaking of that, many of the books were purchased by past librarians. Several have been checked out, or have never been checked out, sorry. And at least 5 hadn't been checked out until the book review process had started coming to the board meetings. I will say that one positive thing that has come from this is it highlighted a gap in our weeding process. I have encouraged our administrative team to focus on our weeding procedures and put an emphasis on using musty and crew, which I don't know what those mean, but my librarian wife gave me those acronyms. But basically it means that we're going to weed on basis of condition, relevance, age-appropriate content, what reflects the communities they serve, and if the information inside is outdated or not. Plus many, many more things that they look at every time that they weed books. I've heard from a few librarians in our district that what they need from us is to find a way to give them time during contract hours to increase their maintenance time. For those who don't know, maintenance time is the best time to slowly weed through books, reshelf books, repair damaged books, send late notices, and research new books based on the guidelines the board as a whole has made clear is appropriate for our students. The American Library Association recommends up to 25% of their contract hours. While I don't disagree that a good portion of the books on the review list are not appropriate for public schools, Ms. Schmidt needs to understand that, again, while what she is attempting to do is not entirely bad, it has gummed up the process, taken an immense amount of time from our staff that should have been focused on weeding books, teaching our students and digging into the data to help improve our students' success and scores. It is entirely disingenuous to almost single-handedly bog down a transparent system with up to 14 years worth of reviews and then shout from the podium that we are taking too long and not doing anything about it. That,
You'll have a minute.
you'll have your time. We are doing exactly as Ms. Schmidt has asked and following our procedures. In an attempt to remedy this, during my board comment time, I will be asking the board to bring this policy up for discussion. I used to believe in the power of one voice, but this process has made it clear that one voice without understanding or discernment can cause more damage to a noble cause than an individual who just wants the issue resolved and working alongside the team. I supported her appointment to the Ed Services Committee, but she hasn't brought up this topic at the committee outside of the actual book reviews. That's. I'm still talking. I won't interrupt you. In fact, I just said that. It seems like she just gets pleasure from reading books with questionable content to this audience where there are minors listening. Most of the books were not at the elementary level, so they wouldn't have had access originally. Instead, again, it just feels like she wants the shock attention that is caused by reading the out-of-context sexual clips to the minors and adults in the audience. I know she means well, and I don't disagree that we can improve our libraries, make way for better and more appropriate books, but how it's being handled is costing this community valuable time, effort, and unfortunately valuable people who didn't cause the issue, but have been dragged through the mud by this continued and disingenuous rhetoric that we are doing it intentionally or just not doing it all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Greg.
Nope, you get your minutes.
We have one speaker tonight, and that is Ms. Schmidt.
All right, so with that, my question for you all today is simple. What have you done to get the inappropriate content out of the district outside of the book reviews that are being submitted? And I think that is where the misunderstanding is happening, correct? I assume that you don't know how bad the content is, so let me educate you on a few examples that are currently available to children to consume via watch. Into the Wild, a rated R movie that's improved instructional material for teachers to use in their classrooms in the high school. This movie has a young lady topless on the side of a river for quite some time wearing only her bathing suit bottoms. I censored these images for you all, but just remember that it was not censored for the minors who watched this next to their peers in a classroom. And you guys, somebody approved it. A clash of kings in the high school. He kissed her again and licked at her secret sweetness on until his beard and her cunt were both soaked. When she gave a soft moan and he shuddered, he climbed up and thrust himself inside her and exploded almost at once. Jesus land in the high school. I open my eyes in a boozy blur and see his penis jutting from his shorts. He grabs it by the root. Lick it, he says, in his thick voice, pressing my head towards it.
Can I pause you for just a second? For anybody who has kids at home watching this, please pause it for just a minute while she puts on her performance.
Add extra time. That was 10 seconds. 15 now. Keep going.
So, open your mouth, Scott says, and I do. He puts it between his lips and grabs my hair and pulls my head up and down on it. A moment later, he groans and something slimy squirts into my mouth. It tastes like pool water. Alice on the outside in the middle school. How does it feel when a man's penis goes inside you? Well, for some women it hurts a little the first time, maybe the first couple of times. After that, it doesn't. It feels pretty good, actually. A man and a woman climb into bed and make wild love, and they both come at the same time. And an orgasm, a climax, the peak of excitement. If you've ever masturbated, you already know what it feels like. Lillian Duncan, the 13-year-old main character, is just so desperate to get onto hormone blockers. They also reveal how they tried to cut off their penis. This book is pushing physical and chemical castration, and your building-level professionals approve to this for 10 to 14-year-olds. Tom and Lana, you guys are the president and the VP on the board, and I cannot tell you one thing that you've done on your own in the past 2 years to keep students safe from this exposure. Your lack of action leads me to believe that you just don't care, or you actually approve of this. Tom, stop hiding on the agenda where the board votes on the books because you don't want to have a group discussion on it. It's very disrespectful to the community because we, the people who you should be working for, deserve to know why you make the decisions that you do. And I wish you would make it a priority to protect students from inappropriate instructional material in our district. Every book needs to be vetted. You cannot solely rely on professional judgment because that is how inappropriate content got into the district. I'll just start at the end. Every book needs to be vetted. You cannot solely rely on professional judgment because that is how inappropriate content got into the district. If you don't take action, you're actually complicit in the grooming and the distribution of porn to children. So with that said, and I know that Greg wants to change this, but here's 25 more book reviews, requests, and books that you guys could have found on your own and possibly have done something about it or vetted it on your own. So that's it. Hey, Greg, next time, call me, and we can have a
Thank you,
great
Carrie.
conversation, and I'm okay with that. Okay?
That will bring us to 5.1, grants and donations by Heath.
Thank you, Tom. Just a moment here to appreciate some kind gestures and generosity from some of our patrons. New City Church for Edgerton Elementary for school supplies. Ms. Barbara Dill as well for school supplies at Edgerton Elementary. New Life Community Church has supported our students at Gardner, Moonlight, and Trail Ridge Middle School, supporting them with school supplies to start the beginning of the year. Tiffany Nyquist at Country Financial with a yearbook donation. I didn't know I had only 30 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go faster. I'm sorry, Ben. Oh, I'm so panicked. Tiffany Nyquist at Country Financial with $500 donation towards the yearbook team at Trail Ridge Middle School. Colby and Christina Kreminga of $475 for the cross-country team at Trail Ridge Middle School. An anonymous donation of $500 for student fees for 24 and 25 through the district office. And then Board President Thomas and his wife, Rebecca Redden, with a donation towards today's convocation. So we appreciate those gestures very much and the kindness of those people to help our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Heath. That will bring us to the consent agenda. 6.1, minutes of the regular meeting held on July 15th. 6.2, school building activity accounts, fund balance as of June 30th, 2024. 6.3, financial statements and ESSER quarterly reporting. 6.4, approval of contracts and purchases. 6.5, memorandum of understanding approvals. 6.6, approval of claims. 6.7, approval of new building activity fund resolution. 6.8, KDOT right-of-way easement. 6.9, 2024 Kansas Region L Hazard Mitigation Plan. And that is it.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. That will bring us to 8.1, department presentation from the SPED department. Ms. Shay Carter.
Good evening. My name is Shay Carter, and I am the Director of Special Education. The presentation you have in front of you is packed with information. I promise you, I'm only going to hit the highlights. I wanted you to have in front of you all of the great things that are happening in special education. You can see our agenda there. We're going to take a look at some of our past and current data. We're going to review the KU audit and the 5 recommendations that they presented to us. We're going to take a look at our culture survey, our exit surveys, and then we'll close and have time for questions. On this first slide here, you can see our continued growth in special education. In special education, there are 2 important count dates. The first one being December 1. When you look at the December 1 column, that column does not include gifted, and students must have an active service line, be actively receiving special education on December 1 for us to receive funding for them. The June 30th count does take into consideration the gifted students, and it is every student that we have some kind of have some kind of impact with them throughout the school year. So every student that we touch in some way is on that June 30th count. You can see that in the last 3 years, we continue to grow. When I started 2 years ago, I was asked to take a look at the gifted and talented population. It was an area that we thought that we might be under-identified in. And you can see since 2022, we have increased by 63 students, which led to us last year asking the board for an additional allocation. We added our 4th gifted facilitator, and this year we added another gifted facilitator, which will take us to 5. So we are moving in the right direction with our gifted population. This is just some information from this past school year. Couple of important pieces on here. Down at the very bottom, you will see that our school psychologists completed 614 evaluations. That is a lot of evaluations. That's a piece of information that we shared to add additional school psychologists to our FTE this year. Also, under where it says objectives met, 3 students in our early childhood program met their objectives in their IEP and were dismissed from special education. In our K-12 population, 113 students met their objectives and were dismissed from special education. So those are celebrations. We want our students to meet those objectives and to move out of special education. This is some fascinating information. This is based on our current data as of yesterday. As of yesterday, we had 51 students that have moved into and enrolled in special education here in Gardner-Edgerton, 51. We took a look this afternoon, and we've had 388 students enroll in the district, and so 13% of those are special education students. Keep in mind, while yes, that number is 51, we also need to take into consideration the intensity. We are getting some students enrolling in our district that have high needs, and they are actually more than, they may be double in the support that they need. So while it's 51, there's a lot of intensity. We have had 27 students in special education move out of the district so far. So we are almost double what is moving out to what is moving in. All grade levels are affected. There wasn't one grade level that just stood out when I looked at each grade level. On to the KU audit. It occurred in fall of '22, so we've had one full school year to implement. Just as a reminder, we gathered input from stakeholders in various formats. We had focus groups. We had surveys that were sent out. They produced, if you remember, the comprehensive needs assessment. And within this, they provided key findings and 5 recommendations for us. So on the next few slides, we're going to take a look at those key recommendations and where we are and what we have done as a district. In September, the special ed leadership team will be meeting with the new director at KU to talk about next steps. When is the appropriate time for KU to come in and review where we are and what we have done? The first recommendation from KU was to establish a district-wide comprehensive PD plan or professional development plan. It's important for us to recognize that while this initiative falls under special education, it truly is a whole district initiative because a student who is in special education is first and foremost a general education student. So it is a partnership with the whole district as we meet the needs of our students in special education. Couple of highlights on this slide. Under B, the professional development on behavior management. We hear a lot of requests. We're seeing an increase in behavior. How are we addressing it? This past year, the district implemented the BIST in select schools, and this year we have increased the number of schools. That has a direct impact on our students in special education. Under C, the behavior supports, we hired Dr. Pollitt, the coordinator of social and emotional learning. He's been leading a lot of that professional development and the BIST. 24-25, we are excited. We have hired our first, in the last 2 years since I've been here, our first BCBA. That's a board-certified behavior analyst. And now that we have a BCBA, we are in the position where we could add RBTs, which are registered behavior technicians. So that's a part of our long-term planning and creating that behavior team. There was a committee and a lot of individuals that worked really hard to get the Blazer Success Academy up and going. And again, that has an impact with our students with special education. We also provided a lot of specific training and support for the RISE program at Wheat Ridge Middle School. We have focused some of our professional development this past year on our administration, making sure that they have a complete understanding of special education, the legal rights and responsibilities. And then our paras. We have spent a lot of time with our paraprofessionals. And that all goes back to the district adopting the early release. That was a big plus for special education this year, in that special education, we were able to meet with our staff every single one of those early release days. That was something that we were lacking. We did not have that time to meet with special education. So that was a true blessing to have that dedicated time to focus on some of our needs. And we also had the opportunity to work with our paras during that time. And you can see a lot of the topics there that we had professional development with. Our goal this year is to even differentiate more our professional development for our paras. We've already had several teachers submit to us areas that they would like to see for their paraprofessionals, or that their paraprofessionals have requested specific training. So we will be working on that. We also have dedicated a coordinator. Ms. Bedell will be the direct SPED contact for our paraprofessionals. If they have a concern or a question that is directly related to special education and they are not getting the answer from their supervising teacher or their building admin, they now have somebody dedicated for them to go to in the SPED department. This slide continues with that comprehensive PD plan because we've done a lot in this area. We used some of our TIP funds to partner with Greenbush this year, and you can see the topics there. One of the most important professional development that we did with Greenbush this year was specially designed instruction. If students are going to be in special education, what are we going to do that's different? We need to make sure that they are getting specially designed instruction. And so that was a 3-part series that we did, and our teachers really took a lot away from that and have commented on that over and over. This year we are rolling out our new IEP system, so we're excited about that. Last year we established our open office hours. We received positive feedback. We are continuing that this year. The first month and a half, we're going to offer those open office hours every week because there's going to be a lot of questions with the new rollout of the IEP system, and we want to provide that extra time for our staff to come in and see us and ask us if they have questions. We have done a lot to support our certified staff. We've worked to redefine our definitions of our specialized programs, which is our RISE, our communications, and our life skills. We're working to monitor the caseloads of our staff. We are discussing and planning long-term for our instructional coaches, and thanks to the board, we are going to have new curricular materials for our staff members, and they are excited about that. The second area that, the second recommendation from KU was addressing the staffing needs. We as a cabinet meet weekly and have a weekly staffing update meeting, so we are staying on top of what our numbers look like, what are our needs, what do we see coming. We have increased our certified and classified FTE thanks to the board and their support. We added 6 FTE for certified this year. We also established last year a related service advisory committee. We wanted to make sure that our related service providers had a way to express their needs and concerns. This year, we are establishing the Teacher SPED Advisory Committee and a Paraprofessionals Advisory Committee. We've really taken a good look at our paraprofessionals, their roles and their assignment. Last Friday, we held a new para orientation. We invited all new paras hired from March 1 to the current date. They came in, we went through an orientation with them. We're looking at differentiating that professional development with them. We increased their workday last year to 7.25 hours. And again, we are starting that SPED advisory to have time for the SPED paraprofessionals to share. Hire, recruit, and retain SPED teachers. Over and over, we have heard that our teachers need more time with their paraprofessionals. So as a department this year, we decided not to pool our paraprofessionals at the beginning of the year, and the teachers have sent in numerous emails thanking us for giving them that time with their paras. We also worked that into our professional development last year, allowing that time for collaboration. The board has supported us in those stipends for hard-to-fill positions. Over the last 2 years, our classified staff, they have received a 17% increase in their salaries. Last year, we had 4 contract agency SLPs, or speech and language pathologists. This year, the coordinators worked extremely hard, and we have filled all of our SLP positions with USD231 employees. So we are excited about that. This year, we added 6.5 FTE to our classified, and we'll get more into our exit surveys here in a moment. I'm really excited about this next slide. The last 2 years, our retention rate is growing. And look at what it was this year, 82%. We are always going to have turnover. We're always going to have people that retire. We're always going to have people whose spouses may get transferred. And those numbers go into. This year, we had 22 certified staff members resign, but we were able to maintain 82% of our certified staff. So that truly is an area of celebration. The next one was the comprehensive communication plan. You can read through what we have there. We have updated our definitions for our specialized programs. We are this year really going to take a deep dive into those specialized programs, and we want to ensure that there is consistency among them regardless of what building you're in. So if you are in a comms program at Moonlight, we want it to be similar in the comms program at Nike, so if our students do change programs. We are excited about, we have already shared out at Admin Advanced the responsibilities and relationship and roles of the coordinators. That was shared with building admin. It's going to be shared with our staff members. And the coordinators are committed to having open office hours in each building this year so that staff will know when they are in the building, when they will be available so they can get to them if needed. The next area, the fourth area, was the feeder rollout system. We made that change last year. One of my first visits to the district before I even started, I came to a SPED advisory meeting, and this was the topic of discussion. There was a lot of emotions around this, so we worked really hard last year to have a successful rollout. And overall, we had some bumps. We had to learn some things on the fly, but overall, it was very successful. This allows our students who are in specialized programs to transition with their peers, and that's what our families and our students were asking for. This next area I am so excited about. We did a lot of work this year, led by Shira Bedell and Katie Wells. They took a look at our evaluation system for early childhood. We had only been spending 90 minutes and making some very important decisions about our students, whether they qualified or not. This year, we have an evaluation classroom. Our students will be coming in for a full week of EC classroom experience. We'll be able to evaluate them in some different environments and some different settings. We increased that evaluation classroom teacher to 1.0. We have a full-time school psychologist that is dedicated to early childhood. And we have established the CLIMB classroom. And CLIMB stands for Communication, Life Skills, Inclusion, Motor, Medical, and Behavior. This gives us another level to our continuum in early childhood. So we're really excited about this. This program is housed at Sunflower, so we'll be hearing more about that. This year, we are going to be taking a look and reviewing our change of placement program, our process for early childhood, so you'll be hearing more about that. Okay, that was the quick summary of the 5 recommendations from KU and all the great things that we're doing. In May, we sent out a culture survey to all special education staff members. Kind of interesting that 82 certified and 82 classified staff members responded. The areas that we took a look at are listed there. After we took a look at all the information that we gathered as a department, as the executive director, and as the coordinators, we have established some commitments. And you will see those on the slides here. An area that we're always working on is to improve our communication and provide transparency. We want to ensure that we are providing relevant professional development and opportunities for paraprofessional meetings. And as you can see, we are starting that paraprofessional advisory that ties right into it. And of course, to recruit and retain the best possible staff. Well, it's not going. I broke the machine. Okay. The next area, let's see here. Sorry about this. The next area is it's because it's the commitments of the executive director is what it is. But areas that I'm going to be taking a look at include to improve communications, building relationships, and being more visible within the district. I am also going to be working on making sure that we have a clear vision and we are sharing our goals and the why and how those goals were chosen. The coordinators are going to continue to work on improving communication, visibility, and ensuring that we provide the support that's needed within the buildings. We're going to continue to improve EC. I know great things are coming there. And we want to make sure that we keep our eye on our caseloads. Is the work that we're asking our staff to do reasonable? So we're going to be taking and really looking into that. Let's see if it's back. Ha-ha. There you go. So there are the commitments for the executive director or myself that I shared. Those are the commitments for the coordinators. And then our exit surveys. All staff members that are leaving the district have the opportunity to complete an exit survey. 15 of our 22 took that opportunities, or that was 68%. They're ranked 0 to 5, with 5 being the highest. And something that I found very interesting when I was taking a look at this, this information is from individuals who are leaving us. And with 2.5 being right smack in the middle, that average, the individuals that are leaving us find us average or above in all areas. So that kind of, hit me. They're leaving us, but yet this isn't a good place to be, with an overall average of 3.2. The responses from the open-ended questions on the exit surveys were very similar to the cultural survey. They all tied into those same things: increasing, improving communication, being more visible, building relationships, making sure we're looking at caseloads. It all tied in. So I know I shared a ton of information with you this evening. Are we where we want to be as a department? No. I mean, we're not. But are we making progress? Yes, we are. And there are great things happening. There are great things happening in Gardner-Edgerton. There are great things happening in the special education department. And it truly is a partnership. Everyone here in the district is committed to providing the best education to all students. And we are working to being great. We want to be that district in the state of Kansas that is looked at for SPED excellence. So, questions?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple things that you'd said. You know, I've had a few people reach out via email, and then internally, the board has been praised for raising the rates for our classified staff. And I just want to say that 17% and that 82%, the 17% increase in pay and the 82% retention, we couldn't have done that without the support of our certified. That 17% is a percentage of the available funds that didn't go to our teachers, that didn't go to our administrators, and they all willingly and gladly gave it up because they know how important the paras and all of our support staff are. So I really, really want to say I appreciate that. And then we got to work with your coordinators during the what do we call it? Yeah, the retreat. There we go. And it was so cool to see their passion and see how excited they were. We don't really get to work with them very often directly, so that was really cool to see. And then the 2.7% leaving for not a positive environment. You know, I can't help but think that some of that is the negative rhetoric that is continuing to be said about our SPED department. I mean, as you guys can see, and trust me, I read the whole thing. There's a lot of slides if you would like to read it. We've come so far in just a few years, a couple of years really, and I really appreciate all the work that you guys have done, and I hope that we can start quelching that negative rhetoric so that everybody can see all the positive things that are happening in our SPED department. Again, like you said, we're not where we want to be. I don't think we'll ever be where we want to be. Always want to be at least 1% better every year. So definitely appreciate it, and thank you for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
Shay, I did have a couple things quickly. I appreciate all the work to put this together because I think it's really important for us to be diligent in communicating how purposeful we've been in attacking the initiatives that we received from the KU survey and how we looked at that, how we took it to heart, and how we attacked it, and seeing it written this way is the best way to digest it. So thank you. We've all known that these things are happening, but some folks don't get a chance to see it because they aren't in those rooms, they aren't in the classrooms, they aren't receiving the reports. So I'm glad we've had a chance to do that. I had just a couple quick questions. In here we talked about the 13% of our students that receive special services. I believe that was the number earlier in the piece with our student population. I'm just wondering if at some point we could get a report that just shows how we compare to our peer districts within the Johnson County area, even into Spring Hill and some of the others, because I think it's important to know where we are in that because it's something beyond our control, but it's something important for us to understand. So I just ask as a follow-up item that we could get that information.
We have that information.
Great.
It was just released last week, and so we do
That
have
might be
it,
just
so
an
we can
email
get
to
it.
send out. The other follow-up I asked for here is in September, you're meeting with the KU team for a follow-up session.
Yes.
After that, I'm hopeful that we might get a summary of what their suggestions were, whether that be in another situation such as this or just, you know, through a communication out so we know what those are and what we can look forward to. That I think would be really beneficial. And then one thing, you know, unfortunately, Kelly, every time we do a group meeting, gets at my table, so we get a chance to talk a lot about these things. But one of the things I've heard from a lot of our SPED families that they feel might be lacking a bit is building level communities within those families receiving special services and how we can foster an environment where they feel part of that community, where they're going to find comfort in shared experiences, and how can we be a little bit more purposeful in building those opportunities for them to connect, because a lot of times I think it's their student, that family with their coordinator, rather than being in a room. Now, the resource fair has given us a chance to do some of those things, but how can we do that as at building level so they can find comfort in shared experiences that might ease not their burdens, but ease some of the things that they may think are unique to themselves, but others are experiencing, and how to communicate those better and work within the chains of commands to get the outcomes they're looking for. So I'm hopeful over the next 24 months we might find ways. I'd love some quick solutions, but if there's ways we can explore opportunities for that, I think we'll get a lot of benefit out as well. But I really appreciate what we did tonight, just to be able to see those documented of how we're attacking this and how we are getting better every single day, that we're working towards that, and the leadership knows the task at hand. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. That will bring us to 8.2, Superintendent Dr. Brian Huff.
All right, welcome everybody. And I will echo the comments, Shay and the SPED team, a couple of coordinators here. Fantastic work. We're making great strides and doing a wonderful job. We had a great time at Convocation today. Thanks everybody. It was good to see you all there. It's a great celebration for the start of the year. The only comments I have are just those of excitement about getting the year started. Wednesday, parents, we're here to take over. Send your kids on Wednesday, unless you have a high schooler, sophomore, junior, senior. You keep them for another day. Congratulations. But we're looking forward to having all your kiddos here. This is what we do. This is what we live for. It's our career. We enjoy working with them, and it just feels like there's something not quite right when kids aren't around. So we're really looking forward to this year. One of the things that we mentioned over and over again this morning at Convocation, I'll mention it here. We are looking forward to providing a world-class education for our kids. Mediocre is not good enough. We want to provide the very best education possible. We want to be the envy of all of Kansas, and particularly the envy of Johnson County. And we know that this board is dedicated to that. Thank you very much for the time, the effort, sweat, and tears you put in, because we know that it's going to make a difference. Our kids deserve it. The communities of Gardner and Edgerton deserve it. And we know that you're here to provide that. To my team that's here in this room as well, thanks for being on board with this. And we know that we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we also have a lot of celebration ahead of us as well. So welcome to the journey, Gardner Edgerton families. We're looking forward to it this year.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. That will bring us to 8.3, comments by the Board of Education.
I just have a couple quick notes of appreciation and then a follow-up as well. It was recognized this morning, but I do want to make a special note of the work the foundation has done and what they did to welcome our new teachers. For those that might not be aware, they have a special meeting that day, and the foundation gives each of those first-year students, or teachers, $500 to help them and just welcome them to being part of our district and let them know that that's the environment they're stepping into. I think it just goes so far and shows their commitment to what we are building, and I can't thank Tim and his team enough for what they've done and how they've done it in such a short time to build it up where it is. So thank you very much for that. To Mark, and also I know a couple other staff members last week did the job fair at the Baptist church. My wife, Jaylene, was able to do a piece of that, but she came back and talked about how many Gardner students and graduates came to the job fair to get help with job placement and find opportunities, and how Mark was able to find several candidates to fill ending roles, but then also just see that full circle comes back and our students are returning to find opportunities to join the workforce. So that's an exciting thing to see. One request I have now that we are through salary negotiations and most of the other county hall, this is my first time going through it. I don't know what to expect when we will see some salary analysis and comparables to our peer districts and know where we landed after everyone went through all. I think that's important for us. Same thing I'd mentioned with Shay, but all those things are very important data for us to know as we look to next year and we look at the budget and how we're planning and where we need to be and want to be. So I'm hopeful that's already on the agenda. If not, I would hope it could be over the next 6 months so we know as the start of the year goes where we ended up comparable to our peers. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Heath.
I would like to make a comment about some public statements regarding the negotiations and the negotiations team. I believe that you two have negotiated the last 3 years. Is that correct? All the board members knew who was on that negotiations team. We all had an opportunity to voice a concern if we had one. I believe no one did. There was nothing, we didn't violate any policy, we didn't violate any statutes in the way we did it. And I understand that the optics may not look good, but I would like to just suggest next year, when we go into this, we just add it to the agenda for a board meeting to allow the opportunity for anyone who does have a concern to speak up. But other than that, I think, we didn't do anything wrong as a board.
Thank you, Jeff.
So,
I-
I still have something, but I don't want you to
Go
move
ahead.
on, but.
I wasn't gonna move on yet.
All right. So for mine, obviously, I said in my speech earlier, we obviously need to make some headway on these books. Talking with Dr. Huff, talking with some of the staff, I really am hopeful that we can find a way to get some time back for our staff so that they can go back and weed through those books. Many of those books have been here for eons, and they shouldn't still be here, regardless of the content. Just the natural weeding process, it shouldn't be here. And talking with the staff, genuinely, they're running out of time between trying to take care of helping their fellow teachers with books and stuff like that for their classrooms. They're just running out of time for what they need to do. But part of that, I think, is something that the board can assist with. I've been 100% against a policy review or change. I fought it several times. Jody and I have had several conversations about it, so he's probably calling me a hypocrite in his head right now. But I would like for us to bring that up at a future discussion. I know I feel comfortable with Lana and Jeff and Katie on that committee. Even talking briefly with Lana about this, Lana has some great ideas that maybe we don't change the policy itself, but change some other stuff. She's a little bit more optimistic than I am. So, but I would appreciate the board bringing that forward. And then convocation was great. I really enjoyed that. That's not something we used to get to do, so that's a lot of fun to see. And also, Carrie, the phone call goes both ways.
My turn?
Thank you, Greg. Your turn.
Okay. I would like to say convocation was a very wonderful thing this morning. The energy, it was just really enjoyable to all be together. We had people from all over the district. We had special guests. We had, if you weren't there, we had messages from Representative Sharice Davis and Senator Jerry Moran. People are noticing our district. We're doing good things, and I'm very proud to be a part of this district. Greg, you know me, I'm always the eternal optimist. So I do hope that we can find a way to address what has been brought to our attention and get it taken care of without changing the policy, because I do have concerns with that. I would also like to say, Tom, thank you for your steady leadership of this board. You've come under scrutiny and attacks. You've maintained your composure and your professionalism, and I'm honored to serve with you.
All right, I'm going to kind of beat the dead horse too, but first I'll say convocation was great. 3 years ago, I campaigned for this position, and when I take something on, I am fully committed, and I give it my all, and I've done it with this position on the board. I campaigned alongside some of you as we went door to door, as we spoke at events. Everything we campaigned on, we have either done or it is being done. At that time, books was never part of the process, never part of the discussion. That's something new. Doesn't mean it's not important. We take it serious. So to say that we sit up here and do nothing about it would not be accurate. These monthly board meetings are not the only thing we do. We have monthly board meetings, we have committee meetings, and countless meetings in between. I couldn't tell you how many discussions, texts, emails I've exchanged with Dr. Huff and some of his staff. Books has been part of that topic. So we have families, we have full-time jobs, personal lives. In addition to our board meeting, our committee meetings, the time that we donate to the schools, helping out in activities, and then we have to read all these books. So the books that make it through the process and come to the board, we have to read those. Dr. Huff also assigned us a book, an extra book that we had to read so he could gauge where we in the community kind of land on books so he could tell his staff. So there is stuff happening on books behind the scenes. There's more than what you see right here. We take it serious and we're working on it.
Convocation was great. The excitement that I saw today was awesome. That's the creativity with the teachers and the intros and such with the teachers was fun to watch. So as far as I know, you all as a board, I know many of you before this and have talked to you privately, and so it is an honor to stand up here and or sit up here with you. I know you guys are all have a lot of integrity, and so I appreciate you. And so however ill-willed comments and such may be out there, I know they don't find much ground with most and the majority of people that I know. And so although it's good to reflect and make sure that those things aren't maybe warranted, but I have zero concerns with that. So I would like to see, 14 years or backlog of books and such. We can find ways to speed up that process, and make maybe some more clear-cut decisions faster. Obviously, I would feel that would be great.
Thank you, Pat. No one else? That will move us to 10.1. Publication, the 2024-2025 budget notice hearing and revenue neutral tax rate notice hearing by Amy Drogemeyer.
Welcome. It's that time of year for us to look at the budget that is going to be published and set the mill levy for our taxpayers. So I just wanted to give you a little background information. This is not going to be a surprise to any of you, but if you look back at our history, our assessed valuation in this district has gone up more than double in that time frame that we're showing here, the past 12 years. Now, some of that is new properties that have come on the tax rolls, but as many of you know, this is the value of your home or of your business, and we don't take that lightly. So we appreciate the money that comes from the tax rolls and comes from our patrons and our property owners to support the schools and support the things that we do. That being said, in that same time frame, we've lowered our mill levy by 22 points in that same 12 years. And that is us being hopefully responsive to, yes, the valuation goes up, but we don't need to necessarily levy a huge amount of taxes more. And at least in the last several years that I've been part of this district, we have not increased our mill levy at the same percentage or decreased the mill levy, but haven't increased the amount of taxes that we've collected by as much as everyone's property values have gone up. So we're trying to give that relief back. You can see up here that we are proposing tonight to drop to 60.208 mills. And I just want to give you a little bit of information about what does that specifically cover. So there are these funds that the taxes are levied toward, and these are all of the things that the local property taxes help to fund. The top two are operating funds, and those are actually more about base state aid. That property tax goes into the state of Kansas to help those coffers, but about 50 to 60% of that actually comes from the state of Kansas. The remaining restricted funds have very limited uses and have very statute-driven reasons that we can spend that money. And they're obviously much smaller than our general fund and our supplemental general fund. But these are the other smaller ones. Now, capital outlay, again, as you know, property, plant, taking care of those types of things. Cost of living is a fund that can only be levied by about 30 districts in Kansas. Special liability expense is a very small portion of our fund, our levy, but it does take care of any liabilities or judgments or settlements against the district. Extraordinary growth, this is the last year. So next year, you're going to see that one actually fall off. This is a now defunct statute that allowed us that 10 or 11 years ago when we were growing like a bad weed, a good weed at that point, that we were able to levy those extra funds and get those funds to build new schools, to hire staff, to meet the challenges of our community. But that one will go away. Bond and interest, we've held that one steady. We have a fantastic fund balance in there to not only meet our obligations, but you can only pay for your repayment of your existing bonds, the principal and interest, just like your mortgage. That's the only thing that can be in that fund. And then special assessment will also, unless we enter into a new agreement, is for the public works projects. For the last ones on the rolls are for Trail Ridge and Grand Star, and those will actually fall off in 2028. So again, we're looking at, these are the things and the specific reasons that we're using them. They are a smaller portion of that mill levy, but they are still impactful to those of our homeowners and our property owners in the district. So the next steps that we have are we have to have a hearing for the revenue neutral rate. We're proposing that is on September 9th, the next board meeting at 6 p.m. Patrons can come and share their views on that. And then you will have to take a roll call vote to exceed the revenue neutral rate if that's what you so choose. And then also we will have our budget hearing at the same time, same date at 6:10 p.m. So what this does is it just sets the legal maximum for those funds. It isn't necessarily the amount we're going to spend. It sets our mill levy, and it also sets in each of those funds what's the top amount that we're saying we're going to spend next year, with the goal of always spending less in each of those categories. We set these estimates a little bit higher because the last thing I want to do is come before you in March or April and say, uh-oh, we have to spend more than we thought and we need to republish the budget. So we look at those and we estimate, maybe some extraordinary things that might happen and plan for those. Not a significant amount more, but set that limit so that we can spend that if it happens. And then again, as I mentioned, our actual general fund and our LOB amounts are really, the dollar amounts are set by our weightings, and that will be part of our September 20th enrollment, and then the audits that happen after that from KSDE. One thing that I will say, one of the reasons that we were able to lower this mill rate that we're proposing tonight by 1.5 mils is because we are finally realizing some of the pilot payments, which are the payment in lieu of taxes from the abated properties that are in Edgerton and Gardner, those investments that we made 10, 9, 8, 11, 12 years ago. We are receiving those. Those offset the amount that we have to levy for our LOB. And so we are able, that's where the largest decrease happened, was in the LOB. So more of that's coming from those properties and less from our taxpayers. So again, timeline really quickly. We've already reviewed our building needs assessments. We worked on that very heavily in the spring, worked with you guys and made sure that everyone understood that as we set this budget. We already did the approval to exceed the revenue neutral rate. We notified the county clerks. Many of you received that information in the mail from them. And then tonight, we're here to ask you to approve the publication of the budget. We will publish it in the legal record in Olathe as our record of what we have on our books. That will be published for 10 days, and then after that 10 days, we can hold those hearings, and we expect that will be published on August 20th, which will be next Monday. And then next board meeting, we will have those budget hearings and hopefully adoption of that budget, and then send that on to KSDE and to the county tax offices to set those rates. Questions?
I just had a quick question on the publication. Obviously, with the sad news of Gardner News not being around anymore, this is going to be one of the first major publications that we've made not using them. So some people may not know exactly where to go look. Will we put this on our own personal page as well? So that they can
Absolutely.
look?
Yes, we
And
will
then
be
maybe put a
publishing it.
link to that to the
Absolutely,
Olathe
and
Ledger?
I'm sure that Dr. Booth will add that information to the board recap that he sends out, just to let people know. It will be available tomorrow morning for people to review and take a look at. We also have paper copies. If anybody wants one, they're welcome to contact our office, and they can come up, or I can send it to them. It's all public knowledge, and it will be published for those individuals, anybody that would like to see it.
Okay. Last thing I had for you, even though I agree with Dr. Huff at Convocation, this is the boring stuff. It is the most important thing we do. So I've grown to trust you. We've talked about the mill levy. We've talked about, we've never talked about increasing, but we've talked about lowering it more. We've talked about leaving it the same. You feel comfortable that with the state funding, with everything kind of combined, we're going to be able to reach most of our goals, tangible
Absolutely.
goals, and not burden the taxpayers more than we need to?
Absolutely, and that's why we've set it at the rate that we have.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was honestly lower than I was expecting it to go, which was fantastic. But those pilot payments were a little bit of a welcome relief in between January and June, and then Johnson County had even upped that estimate of what they expect we'll receive next year. And so that's why we were able to effectively reduce that rate on our homeowners and our property owners, businesses too. Of course. All right, so those are the next two things. You need to approve the publication, and then you also need to approve the fact that we will continue this year to use the 33% LOP. The statewide average this year is 32, so it's not that much above, but 33 is the maximum. Okay.
You covered 10.1 and 10.2.
Yes,
So
I
I need a
have.
motion on 10.1.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the publication of the 2024-2025 budget notice hearing and revenue neutral tax rate notice hearing in the legal record on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. And a motion for 10.2.
I'd like to make a motion that the USD231 shall be authorized to make a local option percentage in an amount to 33% for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. That will bring us to 10.3, the KASB 2024 Delegate Assembly for USD 231. What this is when we go to the KSB convention in November, there will be a voting delegate to vote on the next board president, or the next president for KSB, and policy changes and whatnot. So for that, I would like to make a motion to approve Board Member Greg Chapman as the USD 231 KSB delegate, who is entitled to one vote at the delegate assembly. The voting delegate will be submitted by the board clerk no later than November 8th, 2024. The assembly will be both in person and virtual on Saturday, November 16th, 2024, at 11 a.m. during the KSB annual convention held in Wichita, Kansas. If the delegate is unable to fulfill their duties, Board Member Katie Williams will be the alternate delegate.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. That will bring us to 10.4, executive session for personnel.
5:10, okay, I'm new at this, you guys. So this is just what I read, right? Okay. Motion to go into executive session to discuss human resources pursuant to non-elected personnel exemption under COMA, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:10 PM.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. All right, we're back in session. 10.5, action on personnel.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 11.1, adjournment of meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 12. Held on Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6 PM here in the board office.